I always feel grateful being in this room with your beautiful open hearts. You know, and I travel a lot. I go to a lot of spiritual centers, and I feel blessed by that. I'm remembering, Amy reminded me, the first time I walked into a Unity was 1988, and I lived in Dallas, and there are several Unities there, but there was one known as the Big Unity and the Small Unity. Okay, now, in Dallas, it's not do you go to church, it's where do you go to church. And so if you're not kind of traditional Christian, you go to Unity. Now there's a big center for spiritual living there as well, but I went to the Little Unity. I had heard about both of them. The Big Unity has about 1,000 people on a Sunday morning, and I wasn't quite ready for that. And I walked into that Unity, and I remember a sense, a feeling, an open-heartedness as if I had arrived home. And that was the experience that I had when I walked in here over a year ago, reminding myself that consciousness, collective consciousness, is created as an energy. And you've created a really beautiful one here. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
and
only been a year?
It's been about maybe a year and a half. Maybe it's been about a year and a half I've been down here. Because there's really no time. So what we're talking about today is trust and falling into trust. I want to actually begin by asking you what words or phrases come to mind when you think of trust. What do you think of? Reliability, safety. Trusting in self, faith, connection, trusting in God. What is it? Peace. Honesty.
Knowingness.
Knowing. Openness. Integrity. Welcome. Acceptance. Okay, you guys did great. Thank you. That was it. So what I want to really talk about today, what's showing up for me, and I also love being so connected. I immediately, when Amy was talking, I immediately thought of that Mr. Rogers story, and then she said, I just picked up this, it came to me, and I thought, oh, isn't that cool? How really connected we are. And what I used to call synchronicity or coincidence now has become the norm. Because we're really all that connected with ourselves and each other when we're open to knowing that. I made a joke with Gregory earlier. I took the book of the month and I said, I'm just going to speed read this. Okay, now I can use it for the talk. Why not? I remember early on in my New Thought world, I used to take books and put them under my pillow and say, I'm going to read this in my sleep. Why not? Right? Why not? So this is what is coming to me to talk about with trust, because I think it can be very simple. What am I putting my trust in? When I'm putting my trust in what we call reality, which, by the way, Amy so beautifully said, reality, well, I call it shared reality. Because it's what we've all agreed on. We all have agreed on certain things until we come into New Thought and say, oh my gosh, I've been agreeing with things that I no longer want to agree with. And that's where we begin to dismantle and unravel the unconscious way that we have been in the world. There's a collective story. You know, I had, the last time I spoke here, I think, or maybe the time before that, I shared that I appreciate my dogs because I recognized at one point, and literally it had not occurred to me that they might die before I did. I mean, you know, that's part of having pets, right? But it literally hadn't occurred to me. And a couple weeks after I spoke here, one of them died. And everyone was like, I am so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And everyone just wanted me to be in that space of being sorry. And all I could be in is the gratitude of 15 years with this beautiful angel that taught me and demonstrated every single moment what unconditional love is. So there's a collective story that we should be really sorry when a pet dies. I want to be really clear here. I'm not saying that it's not okay to feel sadness or to feel grief. What I'm saying is that it's all okay. So I felt sadness, and then I felt joy, and then I felt gratitude. We have a collective story about what is appropriate to feel and what isn't, what's appropriate to say and what isn't. And so these collective stories have created what we call reality, or this shared experience that we call reality. When I put my trust in that, I am going to be disappointed. When I put my trust in the changing externals of life, I will be disappointed. Because, here's the thing, in relative reality, that's that ever-changing external reality, in that reality, the only constant is change. In that reality. In ultimate reality, which is unity's first principle, there's only one power and one presence active in the universe and in my life. When I put my trust there, I can be in any external reality and know that deeper truth and be in peace in the world, as Amy so beautifully said. So I'm just going to go through that again because I know we know it. We know it, but what I'm inviting us to do is to take that knowing and really embody it this morning. So when we're putting our faith in external reality, the ever-changing relative reality, the only constant is change. And so if I am grabbing onto, trusting that, I will be disappointed at some point. When I put my trust in ultimate reality, knowing that in the midst of absolutely everything, God is and I am one and the same. So we have a pretty major decision to make. I'm either going to practice unity's first principle, that God is everything, including me, including the hurricane, or God is nothing. So when we are living in relative reality, at one level of consciousness, we pray to have things in relative reality shift and change. And if they don't, we suffer. Or, at one level of reality, we blame God. You know, I hear Amy's story of her friend, the heartbreaking story of losing her two sons, or her brothers, right? Losing her brothers. That can be a devastating or a very sad or difficult situation to walk through. When I know the deepest truth of who and what I am, even in the midst of something that painful, there is love. So I think a lot of times when we say, I trust, we are sometimes talking about relative reality, and that can be a little bit challenging because it's always shifting and changing. Every relationship is always in motion. Everything in the outer realm is constantly shifting. When I try to put my trust there, it's not stable. When I put my trust in the deeper reality of oneness, that God is everything, there is security. True security. So the only thing I actually really need to trust in order to be at peace is that deeper knowing. That invisible realm of existence that is actually more real than what we call reality. So in closing, what I want to say is I want to invite you to look at what the stories about yourself and the world that you have agreed to. You know, that's why I love the book, The Four Agreements. He talks about that we've made agreements with ourselves and the world that create what we call reality. Now, on one level, that might seem like magic. Right, because that's kind of a fun stage. That was a fun stage for me. I was like, I'm going to shift my stories and watch things change in the outer realm. And that was kind of cool. What we're talking about today, though, I think is a deeper awareness. And that is, in the midst of anything shifting and changing in the outer realm, I can know the deepest truth of who and what I am. Questioning those stories that I have about the world. And I love, of course, Louise Hay, and so honor her for her work in this world. And it continues. Her legacy continues in and through all of us. One thing I believe about men is what comes up. One thing I believe about money is I love that. Because I get to see not the thoughts I'm holding about it, the feeling tone I'm holding about it. That's what actually creates what we call reality. It's magnetizing. It's a magnetizing effect that attracts, but here's the key. It's actually more what I'm attracted to and what I'm willing to step into. It's all available for us. It's only limited by the ideas that I have about it. There is so much love in the world, and if I'm walking around with the belief that I'm not lovable, I literally can't feel it. Literally can't feel it. It does not exist in my consciousness. And it's here. It's here all along. It's all here and available. Auntie Mame says, you know, life is a smorgasbord and most poor suckers are starving. Right? That's profound spiritual thought. We get them from all these different places, right? Life is this beautiful feast. What am I available for? What am I willing to take in and to accept and to love? I remember so many times people saying, and I think I talked about this a few weeks ago, that it's really common to talk about, I keep attracting unavailable people. I remember, this was a while ago, I had a Walkman, that's how long ago it was. I was on the treadmill with my Walkman, and I was listening to it was cassette tape. I was listening to Marianne Williamson talking about being attracted to or attracting, and she said the key shift is not why do I keep attracting unavailable people, but why am I attracted to them? And that was a game, I remember like stopping, like almost falling on the treadmill, because I wanted it to be about you and not about me. I didn't want to be accountable that I was the one doing this. But I have a deeper, I think deeper, no slight on Marianne, I'm sure she would say it deeper now too. What am I wanting them to be available for? Am I wanting that person to change my experience of life? That love that needs you to do something for me. That love that's based on, I'm not enough and you're going to bring that to me. That is putting trust in something very shaky. Because guess what? No one can do that for us. And if they can do it for us, or we believe they can do it for us, there's a moment they can't. And then what? How dare you? That's when the honeymoon phase is over, right? You're no longer bringing me this ecstasy that I experienced in our first 3 months of our relationship, because eventually I meet myself in consciousness. And so, you know, I did say in closing about 8 minutes ago, that's what I do. This is really in closing. What happens when I know absolutely that love is the truth of who and what I am, and I'm intending to share that with the world? I'm intending to share that with the world. And again, what Amy's quote for Eckhart Tolle, whatever I believe the world is not giving me, it's what I need to give more of to the world. So if I'm looking for my partner or my relationship or my boss or my job to make me feel more whole and complete, my work is to feel whole and complete, to recognize that wholeness and that completion and then offer that to the world. If I feel like I'm lacking love, give more love. If I feel like I'm lacking money, are you ready? Take a breath, give more money. Because when I'm holding on tight, it's not the thought and it's not magic. It doesn't mean, I remember the first time I gave $100 to Unity, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. It was a Sunday morning, I had a $100 bill and my hand was shaking. $100? And then, of course, you know, everything started opening up in my life, and I thought, ooh, it's magic. This is fun. Well, because I was being taught, it comes back to you tenfold then. It's really more about the energy that we're holding. Right? When I'm freely open, if I want more financial abundance, I need to be open to, one, allowing it in, and two, having a free flow. That channel has to be open at both ends or it gets stuck. So thank you so much. I'm always just so honored to be here. You make this so easy because you create a field of consciousness here that's so easy to step into. I want to just, you know, honor each of you for creating that field of consciousness, because it makes, not only does it make a difference, it is the difference in the world. That when we commit to being open-hearted and recognizing our oneness, there's a field that gets created, and that field emanates outward and makes a big difference in the world. So if you think you haven't made a difference in the world, you have, and you are, and we all continue to, because the deepest shift that happens in the world is a shift in consciousness. So thank you for being part of the evolution of the spiritual awakening that's happening on the planet.